My fiance's phone rang during our wedding vows with the most romantic, spicy ringtone I had ever heard. My fiance's phone rang while I was saying my wedding vows, and the ringtone was a woman's recorded voice. She whispered, "Answer me, baby. You promised tonight would be ours." The phone was inside Aaron's jacket. The caller ID showed a single letter, B. Aaron silenced it and told 87 guests that his best man had installed the recording as a bachelor party prank. His best man looked at the floor. I asked Aaron to unlock the phone. He refused and said we could discuss trust after the ceremony. Then it rang again. This time, the same woman said, "If you marry her, do not come home." Those words were not the most frightening part. The most frightening part was Aaron's expression. He did not look confused or embarrassed. He looked trapped. I stopped the wedding before the officiant could finish the vows. Within 48 hours, I learned who B was, what home she meant, and why $14,000 had disappeared from our wedding account. I also learned the ringtone had not interrupted Aaron's plan. It had interrupted mine from becoming permanent. My name is Natalie. I was 30 when I almost married Aaron. We met 3 years earlier at a neighborhood planning meeting after a developer proposed replacing a public garden with luxury apartments. I was a physical therapist. Aaron was an architect who spoke about accessible design with enough sincerity to make me believe he noticed people others ignored. After the meeting, he asked whether I wanted coffee. We talked until the cafe closed. Aaron was attentive without seeming intense. He remembered that my father had died when I was 19 and never used that information to force closeness. He brought soup when I had the flu, helped my mother repair her porch, and treated my younger sister Elise as if she were already family. He also had a talent for making ordinary life look intentional. A walk became a tour of hidden courtyards. Takeout became a picnic on our living room floor. Even his apologies arrived with the exact language I wanted to hear. That last quality should have worried me. Aaron proposed after 2 years. We were on the footbridge overlooking the public garden we had helped preserve. He had arranged photographs from each season of our relationship along the railing. I said yes before he finished asking. Our wedding was scheduled for the following October at a restored greenhouse outside the city. I wanted something small. Aaron wanted every person who had shaped our story. We compromised at 87 guests. I had inherited a modest amount from my father and saved carefully for years. I contributed $31,000 to the wedding and future home account. Aaron contributed $12,000 and promised to add more after receiving a project bonus. The account required either person to authorize ordinary transfers, a decision I now consider foolish. At the time, I believed financial trust was practice for marriage. Aaron handled deposits because he worked with contracts. I handled guest logistics because my schedule was more predictable. The first warning was a woman named Brooke Vale. Brooke was a senior interior designer at Aaron's firm. I met her at the company holiday party 7 months before our wedding. She was in her mid-30s, polished, direct, and familiar with Aaron in a way I noticed but did not immediately distrust. When Aaron introduced us, Brooke said, "So you are the famous Natalie?" I asked what made me famous. Brooke answered that Aaron mentioned me constantly. Her smile did not reach her eyes. Later that evening, I saw her straighten Aaron's tie. He stepped back when he noticed me watching. He said Brooke treated everyone like a design problem. I believed him because the alternative felt melodramatic. Over the next several months, Brooke's name appeared often. She and Aaron stayed late preparing a hotel renovation proposal. They traveled to Denver for a client presentation. She called during weekends because the project schedule was collapsing. Aaron complained about her constantly. He described her as brilliant but unstable, demanding but lonely, confident but secretly dependent on his approval. I did not understand then that repeated criticism can hide intimacy as effectively as praise. 3 months before the wedding, Aaron changed the password on his phone. He said his firm had installed new security requirements because he was accessing confidential plans. He also started leaving the phone face down. When I asked whether something was wrong, Aaron smiled and said wedding stress was making both of us search for danger. He offered to show me his messages. I declined because I did not want trust to become an inspection. That exchange later became part of the story he told people. He had offered transparency, and I had chosen suspicion only when it created maximum embarrassment. The second warning involved money. 6 weeks before the wedding, I noticed a $7,200 transfer from our joint account to a company called BVL Studio. Aaron said the payment covered lighting, custom draping, and last-minute greenhouse permits. I had never heard of BVL Studio. Aaron forwarded an invoice with our wedding date, venue address, and a professional logo. The payment matched 3 line items in his planning spreadsheet. I asked why our coordinator had not mentioned the company. Aaron said the coordinator subcontracted specialty vendors and complained that I was creating more work during the busiest month of his career. He apologized 10 minutes later. He said he was tired and thanked me for checking. The apology was so good that it became evidence of innocence in my mind. A second payment of $6,800 went to BVL Studio 2 weeks later. Aaron said it was the final balance. Around the same time, Aaron became unusually interested in combining our finances after the wedding. He sent me articles about efficiency and said separate property created emotional distance. The house was mine. My father had helped me make the down payment before he died, and I had continued paying the mortgage alone. Aaron contributed to utilities and groceries, but had never asked to be added to the deed. 1 month before the ceremony, he brought home a folder prepared by a financial advisor. It included beneficiary forms, a joint credit application, and a document authorizing automatic transfers between our accounts. I said I would review everything after the honeymoon with my own attorney. Aaron looked offended. He said involving attorneys before marriage suggested I expected betrayal. I reminded him that he reviewed contracts for a living. He apologized and put the folder away. After the wedding failed, my attorney found that the transfer authorization would have allowed overdraft protection from my personal savings to cover the joint account. If I had signed it before Aaron's failed $3,500 BVL transfer, the money might have moved automatically. The form did not prove he planned to empty my savings. It proved that my caution had interrupted access he wanted before I understood why. I called our coordinator Marisol, not because I suspected an affair, but because I wanted confirmation that all vendors were paid. Marisol said she had never hired BVL Studio. I forwarded the invoice. She said the lighting and draping were already included in the venue package. The permit line did not make sense because the greenhouse held a permanent event license. I called Aaron immediately. He explained that BVL was building a surprise installation for the reception. He sounded hurt that Marisol had ruined it. He said the work was personal and asked me to stop investigating until after the wedding. I asked whether $14,000 was an appropriate surprise. Aaron said part of the amount included furniture for our future house, purchased at a trade discount. He promised every dollar would make sense when I saw the reveal. I should have frozen the account. Instead, I checked the company registration online. BVL Studio had been formed 8 months earlier. Its public mailing address was a co-working space. No owner's name appeared in the basic listing, and the company had a minimal website describing private residential design. I told myself Aaron had used a professional connection to create something beautiful. 2 weeks before the wedding, Brooke stopped appearing in his stories. When I asked about the hotel project, Aaron said Brooke had taken medical leave after an emotional breakdown. He told me not to contact her because she was embarrassed. The night before our wedding, Aaron stayed at a hotel with his brother and best man, Lucas. I stayed with Elise at my mother's house. Aaron texted me at 11:42 p.m. He said he could not wait for our real life to begin. At 12:06 a.m., our joint account sent an alert showing a failed attempt to transfer another $3,500 to BVL Studio. The transfer failed because the account balance was below the threshold Aaron entered. I called him. He said the vendor had discovered a tax error and tried to correct the invoice automatically. He promised to handle it in the morning. Elise wanted me to cancel the wedding then. I told her I needed more than a strange invoice and a late payment attempt before destroying a relationship. Elise replied, "You do not need courtroom proof to pause your own wedding." She was right. I was still thinking about cancellation as something done to Aaron rather than protection I could choose for myself. The wedding morning was clear and cold. The greenhouse walls reflected trees turning red and gold. My mother fastened my dress while trying not to cry. Elise carried my phone so I would stop checking the bank account. Aaron sent a handwritten note through Lucas. It said, "No more separate accounts, separate houses, or separate futures. After today, everything is ours." The wording unsettled me. I could not explain why. At the venue, Marisol quietly confirmed that no surprise installation had arrived. She had asked Aaron that morning, and he told her it had been delayed until after the honeymoon. I asked where the honeymoon documents were. Aaron had booked the trip as another surprise and said he would give me the itinerary at the reception. Marisol looked concerned. She asked whether I wanted to postpone the ceremony. Guests were already seated. My mother had spent months helping. Friends had flown across the country. I could hear the string quartet through the greenhouse doors. I said I would ask Aaron directly before signing the marriage license. That became my plan. Complete the ceremony, delay the license, and demand answers privately. It was a terrible plan, designed to preserve appearances for one more hour. I walked down the aisle. Aaron looked relieved rather than joyful. Again, I explained away the expression as nerves. The officiant welcomed everyone. Aaron delivered his vows first. He spoke about the garden where we met and promised there would never be a problem we could not make beautiful together. Then I began mine. I had spoken perhaps 40 words when music started inside Aaron's jacket. It was not a song I recognized. Soft piano played under a woman's breathy voice. The woman whispered, "Answer me, baby. You promised tonight would be ours." Several guests laughed uncertainly. Aaron's mother, Diane, closed her eyes. Aaron pulled out a black phone I had never seen. It was smaller than his normal phone and had a cracked corner. The screen displayed B. He rejected the call. Aaron told the guests, "Lucas changed my ringtone at the bachelor party. Apparently, maturity was not included in the best man package." People laughed because he had given them permission. I looked at Lucas. He did not smile. I asked Lucas, "Did you make that recording?" Lucas stared at Aaron and said, "Not exactly." Aaron interrupted. He said Lucas had found an audio clip online and was being dramatic because the joke had failed. I asked Aaron to unlock the phone. He whispered, "Not here." I told him, "Then we are not finishing here." Aaron's face changed. He said the phone contained confidential work files and accused me of turning a stupid joke into a public interrogation. The officiant stepped back. Then the phone rang again. The piano was the same, but the recording was different. The woman said, "If you marry her, do not come home." That was not an internet clip. It used the present tense. It referred to me. Aaron silenced the phone and put it behind his back. I removed my ring. I told the guests there would be no wedding until I understood why my fiancé had a second phone with a woman's voice programmed as a ringtone. Diane stood and said, "Natalie, please do not humiliate him over a prank." I asked Diane why she had closed her eyes before Aaron explained it. She did not answer. Elise reached me first. She guided me through a side door into the venue office. My mother followed. Marisol locked the door after us. Aaron knocked and asked to speak privately. I said he could speak after he gave the phone to Elise and allowed her to photograph the caller's screen and recent messages. He refused. Lucas entered through another door 5 minutes later. He looked ill. Lucas told me the black phone belonged to Aaron. He had discovered it in Aaron's overnight bag that morning when searching for cufflinks. The device had no lock screen notifications, but B had called repeatedly. Lucas confronted Aaron at the hotel. Aaron claimed Brooke was a former client who had become obsessed, and that he kept the phone only to document harassment. I asked why Lucas had said, "Not exactly," at the altar. Lucas admitted he had turned the ringer volume on. Aaron had kept the device silent all morning. Lucas did not know about the custom recording, but he wanted me to see the call if Brooke tried again. I was furious that he had chosen a public trap instead of telling me. I was also grateful that the truth had made noise. Aaron eventually entered after handing the phone to Marisol. He unlocked it but demanded that only I look. The message thread with B had been deleted. The call log showed 19 calls in 24 hours. The contact card listed Brooke Vale and an address in a new apartment complex 15 minutes from Aaron's office. The photo attached to the contact was Brooke wearing one of Aaron's shirts. Aaron said the image had been sent to manipulate him. He said Brooke had kissed him once during a work trip and then threatened to accuse him of misconduct if he rejected her. I asked why her voice was his ringtone. Aaron claimed she had configured it when she briefly took the phone. I asked what home she meant. He said she was delusional. I asked what BVL Studio meant. For the first time, he stopped answering completely. Elise searched the company name with Brooke's full name. A state business record behind a small fee listed Brooke Vale as the organizer of BVL Studio. The $14,000 had gone to her company. Aaron said the payments were for furniture Brooke had sourced for us. I asked to see purchase orders, delivery dates, or photographs. He had none. I canceled the ceremony. Marisol announced that a private emergency had occurred and directed guests to the meal already prepared. I did not walk back into the greenhouse. I changed clothes in the office and left through the service entrance. Aaron followed us to my mother's house. My mother told him from the porch that he was not welcome. He sent dozens of messages that night. His explanations changed every few hours. Brooke was obsessed. Then Brooke was a mistake. Then they had an emotional relationship, but no physical affair. Then they had slept together twice while our relationship was effectively paused, although no pause had ever existed. The truth came from Brooke the next morning. She called me from a different number. I almost ignored it, but she left a message identifying herself and offering evidence. We met in my attorney's office that afternoon. I did not meet her alone. Brooke looked exhausted. She said the affair had lasted 11 months. Aaron told her our engagement existed mainly because my mother was ill and I could not handle abandonment. He claimed the wedding had been postponed, then said it would proceed as a symbolic event without a license. He had rented the apartment in her name because he said he was preparing to leave our shared house. The BVL transfers covered rent, furniture, and a deposit. Brooke showed me photographs of the apartment. The sofa, dining chairs, and bedroom lamps were items Aaron had once saved to a shared design board labeled Natalie and Aaron, Home. He had asked my opinion about colors, told me the pieces were beyond our budget, and then purchased them for the apartment he shared with her using my money. The surprise installation he promised for our reception did exist in one sense. It was a furnished second life. Brooke also showed me a calendar invitation for the night of our wedding. Aaron had titled it A and B, First Night Home, and attached a reservation at a restaurant near the apartment. She believed he would leave the greenhouse before the legal signing, announced that I had suffered a panic attack, and meet her afterward. Aaron had told me our marriage license would be signed privately at the end of the reception because he wanted the moment to feel intimate. That explained why he kept insisting the ceremony continue after the first ringtone. He did not need every lie to survive forever. He needed them to survive until he controlled the story of why the license was or was not signed. The spicy ringtone was a series of recordings Brooke made months earlier as a private joke. Aaron had assigned different clips to her calls. She did not know he carried the phone into the ceremony until she saw photographs posted by a guest. She called because Aaron had promised to meet her that evening and announce our separation. I asked why she believed a man actively planning a wedding. Brooke did not become defensive. She said she believed him because accepting the obvious truth would have required admitting what she had helped do. Then she showed me messages. Aaron had told her the wedding account was mostly his money. He described the BVL payments as repayment for furniture and rent. In reality, nearly all of it came from my contribution. The honeymoon was another lie. He had booked refundable flights, canceled them 2 weeks earlier, and directed the refund to his personal card. He planned to tell me the airline canceled because of a labor strike. His plan was not to leave me at the altar. He intended to marry me, keep Brooke in the apartment, and continue both relationships until he decided which life benefited him more. Brooke learned that from a message he sent Lucas after the first ringtone. Aaron wrote, "Get the phone away from her. Once the license is signed, I can stabilize this." Lucas had forwarded the message to me and Brooke separately. That sentence became the major proof in the civil dispute over the money. I changed the locks because the house was mine before Aaron moved in. My attorney obtained an order preserving the remaining joint funds. We demanded repayment of the BVL transfers and the canceled honeymoon refund. Brooke returned the furniture she could and transferred the unused apartment deposit back to the account. She kept nothing purchased with my money. Aaron claimed Brooke and I had coordinated to ruin him. That story failed because bank dates, messages, and invoices aligned without either of us needing to trust the other. His firm investigated after Brooke disclosed the affair. The relationship itself violated policy because Aaron had supervised part of her work and failed to report it. More seriously, he had used company time and a project vendor list to build the false BVL invoice. He was fired. Brooke received a formal warning and resigned several months later. The firm also discovered that Aaron had submitted mileage from visits to Brooke's apartment as project travel. The amount was small, but it contradicted his claim that the relationship never entered the workplace. Aaron later told mutual friends he had been fired because I pressured Brooke to make a false complaint. The firm would not discuss personnel details, so the lie survived among people who preferred it. Lucas finally corrected the story in a group message. He said he had personally seen the second phone, received Aaron's request to hide it, and watched Aaron refuse to unlock it at the ceremony. Lucas did not share intimate recordings or messages. He stated only what he had witnessed. Several friends apologized to me after that. Others disappeared quietly. I recovered $12,900 of the $14,000. The remaining amount had been spent on non-returnable fees, and I accepted a settlement rather than extend the case. The wedding deposits were harder. We lost nearly $18,000. Marisol refunded her own coordination fee and refused to let me accept all of it, so we compromised on half. The venue donated the unused flowers and meals after our guests ate. For weeks, I felt ashamed whenever I saw wedding photographs online. Then I realized the images did not show a woman abandoned at the altar. They showed a woman stopping before the final legal step because new evidence changed the decision. My mother struggled with a different kind of shame. She had welcomed Aaron, defended him when Elise raised concerns, and spent nearly a year sewing small fabric favors for the reception. She kept apologizing for not detecting the affair. I told her deception was Aaron's skill, not our family failure. We opened the boxes of unused favors one evening and removed the embroidered wedding date. My mother donated the plain fabric pouches to a local shelter for hygiene kits. That did not transform betrayal into a blessing. It simply kept one honest piece of our work from belonging to him. Lucas apologized for using the ceremony as a trap. I told him he should have spoken to me privately the moment he found the phone. We are not close, but I do not hate him. His imperfect decision exposed a more calculated one. Diane sent a letter saying Aaron's behavior was wrong, but asking me to consider how public cancellation had affected his mental health. I replied that the cancellation was a consequence of his conduct, not an attack I had designed. Brooke and I did not become friends. We exchanged information through attorneys and had one final conversation after the settlement. She apologized without asking me to comfort her. I told her I accepted the apology but did not excuse her choices. 18 months later, I still attend therapy. I also still love the public garden where Aaron proposed. I refused to let his performance own a place that belonged to an entire community before either of us arrived. The black phone was returned to Aaron after the evidence was copied. I never heard the ringtone again, but I sometimes remember the silence immediately after it played. That silence was the first honest moment of the ceremony. So, did I overreact by stopping the wedding and demanding to see the phone in front of everyone? Or was the refusal, the second device, and that very personal ringtone already more than enough reason not to become his wife?